It's time to rank all three NeverEnding Stories. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good one today. I'm the movie ranker, and today I'm ranking all three NeverEnding Stories from worst to best. We have three movies, like a TV show, and a few other things. Obviously, these are based off of novels. Haven't read the books, just to let you know. And apparently there's remakes in the works right now, very early stages of production. And they span on telling the entire story, so they said there will be multiple movies told over a timeline. So that should be interesting, but that's going to be a while before it comes out. So let's take a look at the original three movies for now. And before I get into it, just make sure you let me know how you rank these three movies down in the comment section. What's your favorite? What's your least favorite? And like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on anything in the future. And without wasting any more time, let's rank them. So kicking things off in last place at number 3, I have to go with The NeverEnding Story 3. Now, I never even knew this movie existed. I grew up with the first two movies and never heard of this one for some reason, and I'm kind of glad because it's not a good movie. It's pretty terrible if you ask me. The first two movies were such great fantasy adventure films. This one strips away basically most of the fantasy. We're not in Fantasia very often. We have characters from Fantasia getting stuck in the real world, which is just not interesting at all. Doesn't suit the franchise to me, especially since these movies were built on imagination, and fantasy. When you just take these characters to the real world and there's going through the woods and like Falcor flying over a bridge in the city, it's just not interesting. It loses the magic. I just find this to be a very weak script, very low effort, stripped down. There's no like real deep themes or nothing in here like the other films. So that's unfortunate. Of course, everybody's recasted again, like all these movies. We get a new Bastion, a new family, and all the acting in this movie is very questionable. But the mother, the stepmom, her acting is just god awful, terrible, easily the worst in the franchise. The villains in this movie are actually a group of bullies in high school called the Nasties, and they're led by Jack Black himself, which I had no idea that he even made movies back in the early 90s. I think the first movie I ever seen him in might have been Orange County. That probably is the first. And basically this gang, the Nasties, end up with the book, and they're causing chaos in Fantasia, causing destruction and stuff there, while also causing havoc in the real world. By the end, in like the mall, they're like making everybody just become a-holes, basically. Everybody's just being mean and nasty and everything. It's just not very interesting to me. There's no adventure here to be found. We also get no Atreyu. The Rock type people in here look terrible. You can just tell they're wearing these costumes. The effects, the practical effects, everything is just not as good as before. Falcor looks ridiculous. The worst he's ever looked. It's just a shame. All the characters kind of feel like great value characters, like Temu versions of the originals. So that's awful. There's a bunch of forced jokes that never land, and they're always slipping in this humor that just doesn't work. And yeah, just a terrible movie all around. Oddly enough, the soundtrack is pretty crazy for this cheap little movie. I mean, that's the one thing it has going for it. And the movie knows that, so every like 10 minutes they're trying to force a new song onto you. Kiss from a Rose by Seal is on here. I thought that Batman Forever was the first movie to use that, but no, it was actually in this movie first. We get some Meatloaf in here. We get Born to Be Wild, but it's kind of butchered because the Rock guy singing it while he's on his bike, like biking around. It's just an odd choice. Like, why is that in this movie? So yeah, I just feel like the movie was dumbed down to suit. Obviously, these are children's movies, but they're not even clever children's movies, A good family film works for the entire family. There's stuff there for the kids. There's more deeper stuff for the adults. But this film is so watered down. So really, the only thing this movie has going for it is the soundtrack. I mean, unless you want to see Jack Black really young with a unibrow being a bully, or see Falcor looking ridiculous and sound like he's been dropped on his head too many times. Like he sounds like slow in this film. If those things interest you, perhaps check this out, but no, it's a terrible movie. Coming up next at number 2, very tough decision here, but I ultimately had to go with the NeverEnding Story 2. And this was just such a gut punch to me not putting this in first place. I've watched this movie so many times growing up. I had this on VHS. I didn't have the original, but I have seen it a few times growing up. So I just have such a deep nostalgic connection to this film. But the flaws do stick out, especially as an adult rewatching this. I'm like, wow. But I still have so much fun with it despite its flaws. And like I said before, everybody gets recasted pretty much every movie. Aside from the librarian, he's still the same as the original in this film. But yeah, new Bastion, played by Jonathan Brandis, I think his name is. Unfortunately, he took his own life, I think at the age of 27. But yeah, I always liked this actor. I think he's pretty good in the role for what he's given. And yeah, I like him in like It. He plays like a very young Bill at the age of 12, I believe. And I see him around in films. He wasn't the biggest star or nothing, but it's just unfortunate the way his life ended. But I thought he was always pretty good in here. And this time, Bastion actually gets sucked into the book literally, not just with his imagination. And yeah, he's in this world. I feel like the world, it's weird. At times, it looks much better than the first movie. There is still some great set pieces in here, some great costumes and makeup effects. Like certain characters look better. Like the big rock mountain dude. I feel like he looks better in this one. But then there's other things that look much worse. Like the evil witch, like her carriage. The evil queen or whatever she is, the villain in this. Like she has like this carriage that she drives around in. And it just looks so cheap. So it is kind of unbalanced, the visuals in this film. Some things look better, some things look worse. And the same goes for the tone of the film. Like sometimes the movie goes really dark, like darker than you would expect, especially with the villain and her like machine giants come after them, and they have like these blades that come out. I mean, they look kind of silly, you know, the way they move and everything. But as a kid, I thought they were really freaky and kind of scary. They kind of add this like little bit of a horror element to this fantasy land, which, you know, makes sense. But yeah, it's just an odd shift in tone. There's like that really dark stuff, and then there's other things that seem very childish. So the visuals aren't really balanced, the tone isn't really balanced, but the story is much more action packed. Movie kind of flies by. It's a great adventure. I think it does that better than the first film. It's just more captivating, more engaging, especially for a child, seeing your interactions with these machines, and you know how Bastion's, every time he wishes, it actually takes away one of his memories. I thought that was a cool little addition to the story and made the villain, you know, that much more powerful. And I really do like the villain in here, that like evil witch queen, whatever she is. She's very manipulative, especially towards Bastion. She knows how to suck him in and get him on her side, you know. And like I said, removing his memories and everything, just really clever. And all of her like henchmen are pretty cool too. That one dude whose faces keep switching, and of course Nimbly, he's kind of annoying at times, but I really like the suit that the bird has or whatever. The costume's really cool. And yeah, he's definitely a standout character in here who, you know, has a change of heart throughout the film and becomes a good guy by the end. I like his little arc that he has, and just having Bastion in this world, you know, interacting with everybody like Atreyu and everything. Like I said, it just adds more to the film, to the adventure side of the flick. You got that one cool scene where Atreyu has all the bags of like eggs, and these little like firework creature things come out, and he uses them against the machines at one point. I always liked that as a kid, but very cheesy as an adult. And Atreyu is also recasted in here, but doesn't really bother me because this is the Atreyu I seen the most growing up. So the recasting didn't do a thing for me. And again, pretty dark scenes with them two where Bastion turns on Atreyu and actually pretty much kills him, or thinks he does anyway, when he goes over the cliff thing. Very intense stuff. And there are moments in this film where it actually feels like the Power Rangers or something, especially with the costumes and the villains and everything and the way things play out. Definitely giving me some Power Ranger vibes. Oh, I love the security system the villain has too. She has like lasers that going everywhere. That's kind of cool, kind of something different that we didn't see before. So yeah, I have so much nostalgia for this movie, so it's hard to bash, but it definitely has its flaws. I mean, there's a lot of things that are just nonsensical, like Bastion literally getting sucked into the book, and then his father reading, and eventually Bastion showing up to the door when he completes his mission in Fantasia. It just, some odd things are like how the father takes the cops to the bookstore, and then there's like nobody there and it's abandoned, and they're like, are you sure there was a bookstore here? There's just a lot of things that don't really add up or make sense within the story. Again, it goes with the fantasy side of the movie, but it's just not very logical, I feel. And the movie definitely doesn't tackle its themes as strongly as in the first one. This one's a lot about courage. Bastion is scared jumping up the high dive, swimming, and that doesn't really add up to a lot of the story. Of course, he does gain courage and becomes brave by the end of this story, but I don't really see the connection to heights and stuff like that. You can't really tackle every one of your fears the same. So it just wasn't laid out as clever or as thought out as the first film in regards to the themes and that. But at the end of the day, like I said, I just really enjoy rewatching this film. It brings me back, but I can't say it's quite as good as the first movie. But for me, coming in the first place in this ranking is the original, The NeverEnding Story from 1984. Like I said, perhaps the story or the adventure isn't as grand or action-packed as part 2, but its themes are so strong in here. That is what really makes this movie work for me, especially as an adult. Some of those things kind of go over your head as a kid, but just the way that Bastion is following Atreyu through this adventure is as if he's there with him, even though he's reading the book. I thought that was just really cool, and he has to become the hero of the story at the very end, just like how he can become the hero in life in his own story, right? And there's just so much that's symbolic in here, especially the childlike empress, how she's very symbolic to Bastion's mother, who he lost. And Bastion in this movie, he's dealing with grief. He's dealing with a father that's kind of neglectful, since he lost his wife. And, he's having trouble in school, and he's doodling and everything, running away from bullies and stuff like that. So really, the NeverEnding Story is a form of escapism for him. And that's like the main thing here, escapism. We all do it, whether we're watching movies, reading books. We can kind of get lost in it and kind of forget about what's going on in the real world. And yeah, this movie lays it out so well. And I just love that Bastion has to realize his importance in life and the story, and overcome his fear, his despair, his self-doubt, and embrace his imagination. And like I said, it's those themes and those little messages, inner messages that are spread out through this film that really propel this film above the rest. Like I said, the adventure's fine. It's just not super action-packed or anything, but the fantasy elements in here are fantastic, very 80s. I love a good 80s fantasy film just because of all the practical effects in that. They very rarely use digital effects in here. So yeah, you got all the costumes, all the characters, all the set pieces are all like visual candy in here. So even when the story is not moving at a super fast pace, you're just drawn to everything on screen. And yes, I can see how people can find this outdated, especially the newer generations that never seen this when it came out. But it's just comforting to me and kind of nostalgic once again. So yeah, those things never bother me, especially with movies I grew up with. And of course, there's the big, iconic, but very sad scene where Atreyu loses his horse in the swamp, in the mud. The Swamp of Sadness or something I think it's called, which again, while he's reading this book, like losing the horse in the mud, but him able to push on and keep going on with life, right, on his adventure, just kind of relates to Bastion and losing his mother and how he has to continue on with life regardless of losing someone very close to him. And that scene is just a heartbreaker, man. The horse sinking and sinking, Atreyu yelling, "Come on!" And you really feel the emotion come from the actor and just from that scene. Done so well, very compelling. Yeah, and I just love spending time in this world. You got this nothingness, making everything disappear due to people losing their hopes and dreams, specifically Bastion a little bit. So yeah, it's just making everything disappear, and you grew to love all these characters. So when you see them vanishing, you really want them to solve this problem. And of course, the movie has so many memorable characters to offer, from the speed snail to the wolf, Falcor, of course, the flying luck dragon who looks something like a dog, childlike empress. There's just so many memorable characters, memorable visuals, and just a really well-made story. I imagine the novel is even better, but I do really enjoy this first movie. One last thing I have to mention is the theme song for this. It's like very like poppy and upbeat, but the movie didn't have to be, the song didn't have to be that great for this movie. Like it's a banger for its time. So that really surprised me, and I kind of forgot about that theme song until I rewatched this movie. I'm like, damn. So yeah, this movie has a lot going for it. I may love part 2, but there's no denying that number 1 is the best movie in this franchise. So there you have it, guys. There's my ranking of all 3 The NeverEnding Story movies. Hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, we got some more movies coming in the future. Probably not next year. I imagine by 2027 or so, we'll probably start to hear about them and see them. So kind of excited for that. Interested to see what direction they take this in. Apparently, like I said, it's supposed to be a run of films. Don't know if it's a trilogy or not, but interested to see where they take this. You can follow me on Letterboxd if you enjoy looking at rankings and lists and all that. Follow me on there. Link to that is in the description of this video. Make sure you drop your favorite, least favorite NeverEnding Story movies down in the comment section. Tell me how you rank them and all that. Love to hear it. And are you excited for the new movies coming out? Also, like the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on anything in the future. I'm always on here ranking, so stay tuned for more. And until next time, thanks for watching.